How you doing, everyone? Kenny the Heat here. Give you a quick video on some of the knives I have. This is just out of one of the bug out bags. I've got a decent collection of knives. Uh, Not all of them are really practical. Like you'll see this Winchester knife. It's a strong knife. If you're out in the woods and you have it, it's good. It's a larger knife. Probably not really good for a whole lot of practical purposes, but it is a knife. It serves a purpose. It does cut. It can also be used to, not so much like a machete, but it can chop some things down if you need it to. It's a stronger knife. And I'm not a real big fan of this knife. It was kind of bought out of impulse, but if you have one of these things, it'll work okay for you. But that's not really my primary source of, what's in the bug out bag as far as a knife is concerned. What everyone should have, whether you're camping, hiking, hunting, or just out in the woods, is a good multi-tool that has, a set of pliers, several knives on it, screwdriver, saw. Bottle opener is optional, but pretty much just to have that with you. In a survival situation, this is going to be one of the most sought after things. You're going to want to have one of these. And the good thing about this is it comes with an attachment where you could put some things to get screws out, which I like. It's pretty nice. It was fairly cheap. I think I paid maybe $10 for it, and it's decent metal on it. It's lasted a very long time, and I use it quite often, so it works very well. The next I have is, like this smaller knife here, very sharp. You could field dress a deer with this if you needed to. The smaller blade, lock blade, much stronger than a lot of the other knives that are out there, and it's pretty cheap and it's strong. But that can be used for a lot of different things, out in the woods or wherever, or a bug out situation. This knife here is just something that I've had for years. It's used to carry it with me hunting just to maybe field dress a deer. It's got a nice sharp blade on it, not very strong at all. It does lock back, but not something that I would ever trust out in the field, but just something to add. It doesn't add much weight, but doesn't add much weight to a pack, but it's what you have is what you have. Another thing I have is these throwing knives. Now, I don't think that these things work too well, throwing knives. I mean, I am no expert at doing that. Some people have take a hobby of using throwing knives, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how people do it, but the three of them came in a set, and what I did is I took it and I melted in one of those clamps that you use to put on your webbing gear or your duty belt or whatever you want to call it, and you can put the knives in there. It comes with a Velcro strap, which, like I said, I wouldn't trust this really out in the field. I would keep this more in my pack, and this would be more of a sheath for it. But like I said, I just have these things here as examples of when you're packing for a trip or out in the woods or any bug out situation. You always want to have your primary and your alternates with you. This here would probably be a primary. Because it's got so many tools on it. These other ones here would be, definitely would be an alternate. And these would be just something totally different. Totally different from what you normally have. And, like I said, you're going to use what you have. And I had these laying around the house. These are very old, actually. And, they're supposed to be throwing knives, but I really don't think that they've proven themselves. And they're probably more just bought out of impulse. And I just probably shouldn't have bought them. I should have spent my money on something quality rather than buying throwing knives. But I put them inside the bug out bag just to, to have an extra blade for whatever reason. But your primary would, be this multi-tool because it has so many different functions on it. And this larger blade here, if you have it out in the woods, it's not very heavy. But, you can find a use for it. But my main reason for this whole video is that you have to have, backup plans for everything. You have to use what you have at hand. Now, I'm sure if I was out in the woods, I'd find a very good use for these. if I was stuck out there for a certain amount of time, this here could be mounted to a stick and used as some type of spear, for catching small game or maybe even a deer, who knows. But like I said, it all is contingent on the amount of resourcefulness you have and what you have with the tools given to you. And that was the main reason for this whole video, was to just show you that you're not really limited. It's just, it all comes down to your resourcefulness and how you're going to use these things. Now, this multi-tool here makes things a lot easier. If I didn't have it, I'd have to rely on just what I had. If I take this out of the picture, I have to rely on what's right there. So how would I find other ways to do things? I would find some way, and I would adapt to whatever situation is given to me. So think about that when you're prepping. You might not be able to buy the most expensive gear out there. You might only have a few things that, you don't think are really worth much. But when it comes down to it, they can be used in place of something else. It all comes down to your resourcefulness and what you're willing to do to survive. So when you plan, at least if you have this stuff here with you, you can think about what really should go inside your bags and how you can prepare for your family. So something definitely to think about when you're prepping. Your resourcefulness and always having backup plans for whatever you have is key whenever planning.